Well, here's the answer to our trivia challenge today, and Bob Knight won 3 national championships at Indiana. The first, of course, was his undefeated team with Kent Benson and Quint Buckner and company. The second was the Isaiah Thomas one, and then the Alford team was his 3rd national championship. And speaking of a guy who knows Bobby Knight very, very, very well, my old friend Phil Bova, who is one of the greatest college basketball officials ever. 30 years he worked the Big Ten as well as the NCAA tournament for a couple of decades. He has written a book. The name of the book is Throwing Back the Chair, and that refers to the game he did with Bobby Knight, who threw a chair. He was so upset with Phil. Merry Christmas. It's great to see you, old friend.
Merry Christmas to you, Bruce. Good to be with you this afternoon.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much. We're really thrilled to finally get this thing out after 2 years. It took us 2 years, and we're excited about the way people have received it. And we're excited to get it to a lot of people because they love college basketball. And that's what this whole book is about, my background in my 3 decades of Big Ten basketball.
So many things I want to ask you about, but real quickly, what got you into officiating to get things started?
Well, it's one of the very first things. In fact, it's the first chapter. I never planned on being a college basketball referee. I'll make it very short. It's in the very first chapter in Throwing Back the Chair. I was at a Cleveland Browns basketball game, a charity game, out in Middleburg Heights. I was sitting in the stands with a friend of ours who was a teacher there, and the place was packed. They were trying to raise money for the school, Walter Johnson, Paul Warfield, that whole crew. And there were 2 guys refereeing the game or attempting to referee the game. And don't you know, a minute or 2 into the game, Bruce, the guy goes down. Now they're all around him. The trainers come out, they put the ice on, and now they have to have another referee. So I played basketball in high school, a little bit at college. And there I'm sitting, and they walk back and forth. They said, "We need a referee. Would anybody like to volunteer? We need you. Please help." So I raised my hand. He says, "Have you ever refereed before?" I says, "No, sir. But I do know if a guy goes down, there must be a foul." So that's how I said, this is pretty cool. I like this. So we got an opportunity to go 44 years after that afternoon.
Let me ask you, how many years, because as you may recall, I have an officiating background when I was working my way through college, majoring in radio and TV with one thought to become a sportscaster. But I officiated in the Chicagoland area, both basketball and football. My dad was a football official.
Wow. I didn't know
How many years did you have to pay your dues working the high school frosh games, the JVs, then you get varsity high school before you were elevated to the NCAA?
Exactly right. I started at St. Edward High School working CYO games for you. Ready for this? $3 a game, Bruce. And I worked 7 games on Saturday and 7 games on Sunday. I said, $21, this is pretty cool. So eventually we took the test, and I had some great people that were very kind to me and helped me through my career. And again, those are all mentioned in the book, my gratitude for those people. But then we started working freshman basketball, got an opportunity to work JV. Then, like you said, right on to varsity, and then to the middle school, and then to Cleveland State University, where I really got my break with Ray Derringer. Because the Mid-American Conference officials used to work the varsity games, and I was a kind of a right man, right spot type guy, and a couple of guys that saw me work back-to-back games and liked the way I handled myself. So that was my break, so to speak, to get to the next level, which would have been the Mid-American Conference. So I was very fortunate to have great people surround me and make a real difference in my career.
Trust me when I tell you, fans, what a prestigious thing it is for an official working their way throughout the high school ranks to become a Big Ten official. That is a big, big thing. And indeed, you worked in the Big Ten for all those decades and the stories. And one of the chapters in your book is the top 10 arenas. Give us the top 3 or 4.
Well, I just love the Palestra. That's the Palestra. When you think of college basketball, and that was where basketball started. Madison Square Garden. Those are two great arenas that I was so proud to be a part of. I really like the Schottenstein in the Big Ten. That's probably one of the finest and unique arenas in the country, let alone the Big Ten. But back at the Palestra and at Madison Square Garden, they were right on top of you. Some of these new arenas now, there's plenty of room for the baseline official. There's plenty of room to run up and down the sidelines. You still have the fans, of course, but I like those three arenas the best. But I do rank them the arenas that I think really stand out. But those three are my favorite.
And you also have your top 15 games, and well down on the list, I found very fascinating, was the game you did. Was it LSU when they still had Shaquille O'Neal and Villanova with Massimino?
Absolutely, that was one of my top games. Raleigh Massimino was one of my very favorite referees. When he used to get excited, he used to talk to me in Italian, and I knew exactly what he was saying. But LSU, Shaquille O'Neal was a freshman, and that was the year that Villanova went on to win the national championship. And I was able to have what they call the Hall of Fame game. And Shaquille O'Neal was just an awesome sight when he was a freshman, let alone when he got to the pros. So that was one of my top games, and it was just unique to be able to be selected for the Hall of Fame game.
You know, Phil here was a Big Ten official, but that doesn't mean that he didn't work non-conference games, or Big Ten crews will work other conferences or matchups between non-conference teams. And one of those was UNLV when Tarkanian was there, and Majerus with Utah. That had to be a big one.
Oh, those two guys were classics. And I often wondered what was in that towel that the Utah coach always used to wear on his shoulder, remember? We always used to question, did he have just water there, or was that with a dry towel? But it was certainly unique to work for those guys. These Hall of Fame coaches, these untold stories and magical moments in my book are just awesome, because there's so many different things that happen in my 44 years in the NCAA, let alone the Big Ten. So, yeah, those guys were unique in the sense the way they handled officials, their longevity, their ability to communicate with the kids. That's why they're Hall of Famers, Bruce. Simple as that. And in my book, I list the guys that I think were just made a complete difference in educating student athletes.
Another one of your favorites was a Cincinnati game against DePaul. This is when Bob Huggins was coaching at Cincinnati. And I thought I've interviewed Bob many times, Phil, and I love the guy. And he, some of my colleagues say he's a tough interview. I absolutely love him. I actually thought he should have won 2 or 3 national championships when he was at Cincinnati. He had a great opportunity to do so, and circumstances being what they were at the time, it didn't work out for him. But I remember that game, and he went face-to-face, nose-to-nose with you in that game.
Well, we were asking each other whether or not we were going to go out to dinner. Not really. He was excited. I was excited. He thought there should have been a foul. I didn't call the foul. It was a great game. Thank goodness we looked at the tape, and I felt good after I looked at the tape. But that's, emotions are involved at that level, and there's a lot at stake. And we had an excellent ball game that year, and he's always been an outstanding coach. So we remain friends to this day.
And, of course, Bobby Knight, number 1 on your list with the chair throwing incident. And we mentioned coming into this segment interviewing you about his 3 national championships, and just an unbelievably fabulous coach. But, boy, did he have a short fuse with officials.
Well, I have to share with you. I obviously had the game February 23rd, 1985. And that is all described in this book. And obviously the book is Throwing Back the Chair. That's just a piece of all the humor and history and commitment that you're going to read about. Hopefully our readers have read about. But one of the things I'm so thrilled about, he was able to come to my referee school Bruce, that same summer, and unbeknownst to any of my referees, none of the referees knew that he was coming to the game, or he was going to come to my camp and spend 3 hours talking to my referees. And it was one of the most unique 3 hours that I'm ever going to go through in our lives. Our officials were thrilled, and there were so many things that took place between official and Coach Knight in those 3 hours that absolutely hilarious in this book. But I also want to add, and if anything comes from this book, and it's been tremendously well received by all the wonderful people that have been supportive of me, is that I was reunited back before this pandemic virus started in Columbus. After 25 years, Bruce, Bob Knight and I were reunited at a football, basketball, and baseball signing where he and I were together for 2 hours. And when he walked around the corner and I walked around the corner and we embraced, it was something I'll never forget. It was just monumental to me because so many people had written him off as being sick. And the last time I had seen him on TV, he was the Indiana-Purdue at halftime. They interviewed him and he came out, and I was so pleased to see he was healthy. He raised his right fist, and then I get an opportunity to spend 2 hours with him. It was just monumental to me. So I was so thrilled to see that he's doing well.
One of the greatest of all time.
Yes,
no question about it. How did you ever consider, were you approached, did you ever consider going to the NBA?
Yes, and that's a great question. Thank you. And in the chapter in the book, it's called Flirting with the NBA. And I had an opportunity. I was selected as one of the 15 officials throughout the country to go to the training camp. And I was selected that's when the NBA started their third ban. And we were excited about that. And I had an opportunity to work a number of preseason games. And then they went on strike. Now, I had a decision to make. Do I cross that picket line, or do I stay home and do what I've been taught? I'm blue collar. We're born and raised that way. And so consequently, we did not cross the picket line. We waited for that strike to settle. And then the offer that they had brought to the table wasn't conducive to what I expected. So I will stay back in college basketball. But I did entertain the thought of going to the NBA.
Let me ask you this, Phil, because I have real problems with the way the NBA is officiated. When Stern was in for, audacious as he was with the media, that, there's no way a game could be rigged or fixed or anything. And then we had the gigantic scandal, and he was pale as Casper the Ghost.
Right.
But it's not necessarily the officials' fault. It's the way the NBA wants those games officiated. Your comment on that, from the difference between, because to me, NCAA college basketball is more pure basketball based on the rule book. Again, I come from an officiating background. I know that rule book. Based on the rule book, that's more pure basketball than what we see in the NBA.
Exactly. And the NBA, Bruce, you know it as well as I do. That's a business. Their philosophy of officiating is completely different from what we do in high school and college basketball. What I love about college basketball and high school basketball, because I have 9 grandchildren and they're all playing sports. From the time the ball goes up to the final buzzer, those kids are playing their hearts out. And if you turn the game on with 3 minutes left, you don't know the score whether it's close or not, because those kids are working their tails off, boys and girls. The pro level, I just don't like the philosophy. I don't like the fact that there's a tremendous amount of when I see traveling not called, their philosophy of letting them play, knocking people down. And then the kids see that and think they can do that at the high school and collegiate level. It can't happen because, like you said, the rule book demands certain things differently than the NBA does. So it's a business. It's a different approach. And they're great players. They're the greatest players of the world. but their approach to the game and officiating is completely different from ours.
And I also want to point out that in the book, Phil talks about his camps, and they're known nationwide. Please take this opportunity and tell the fans about that, Phil.
Well, I often said if I could give back to the referees, because I was very fortunate to have some great referees in the Cleveland area that supported me and helped me. So I got to a particular level. I says, let me be able to give back. So I got the idea to start a referees camp in conjunction with colleges. They have camps every year. So we would be going around, for example, Malone, Kent, Ohio State. We would have our camps at different venues. We would stay a week. It was phenomenal. They would play, we would referee. They would do their one-on-ones. We would look at videotape. And I guaranteed our guys and girls, when they came out of that referees camp, they were going to be better when they walked in. And they were going to know how to get along with coaches. They were going to know how to get along with officials and be proud of the profession. So we were able to help many, many referees. And to this day, Bruce, I'm proud to say it's in the book. We have several officials that worked, the NCAA tournament, and fortunately we're advanced to the Final Four, and we were proud to have a part of that on their progression as referees. So I was happy to be able to give back to the guys. So
and you do such a marvelous job. Throwing Back the Chair is the name of the book. How do the fans get it, Phil?
Amazon.com. That's the way to get it, and you'll hopefully have it in a couple, 3 days. Many people have told me, Phil, you know what? It makes a great stocking stuffer. College basketball's just opened up their season. Christmas is here. People get excited about three things, Bruce. They get excited about the Super Bowl, they get excited about the World Series, and they get excited about March Madness. And I'm grateful to have been an integral part of March Madness for so many years. And so we put this book together after 2 years. And Nino Frostino is my co-author, and we put this thing together, and we're excited about it. And I hope our people continue to enjoy it. And we want to thank them for their support.
Well, I'm grateful to have you agree to come on the show, and even more grateful to call you a very dear friend for a lot of decades now, Phil. Congratulations. Love you. Best to you and your family. Stay safe and healthy during this holiday season, my friend.
Thank you, Bruce, and back to you. Congratulations on your success also.
Phil Bova, one of the greatest of all time, no question about it. When we come back, another edition of Fair or Foul on Drennan Live.